1. When mentoring a new Certified Senior Advisor (CSA) candidate, which approach best aligns with adult learning principles? A. Provide pre-written scripts for client interactions without discussion. B. Encourage the candidate to share prior experiences to connect theory to practice. C. Focus solely on regulatory compliance rules without context. D. Use rote memorization techniques for client engagement scripts. 2. A CSA trainer designs a program to help advisors improve communication with older adults. Which curriculum development step should come first? A. Delivering the training immediately to test effectiveness. B. Defining measurable learning objectives aligned with CSA standards. C. Selecting evaluation tools before objectives are finalized. D. Choosing technology platforms for training delivery. 3. A CSA must evaluate whether a mentee effectively applies ethical decision-making in practice. Which evaluation method is most appropriate? A. True-false knowledge test. B. Simulation-based role-play scenarios. C. Self-reported confidence survey only. D. Memorization of regulatory guidelines. 4. A client with cognitive decline struggles to understand financial options. Which CSA communication strategy best supports ethical engagement? A. Delivering information quickly to reduce time burden. B. Using technical terminology to ensure accuracy. C. Simplifying language and confirming understanding through teachback. D. Asking family members to decide without client input. 5. In adult learning theory, andragogy emphasizes which key factor when educating CSA trainees? A. The need for external rewards as the primary motivator. B. The importance of experience as a resource for learning. C. Dependence on the instructor for all knowledge transfer. D. Rigid adherence to standardized tests. 6. A CSA instructor incorporates reflective journaling into training. This technique primarily enhances which skill? A. Memorization of regulatory codes. B. Application of personal experience to learning outcomes. C. Mastery of mathematical problem solving. D. Standardized test-taking speed. 7. A CSA curriculum review shows that evaluation methods focus mainly on knowledge recall. Which revision strengthens alignment with best practices? A. Adding case-based performance assessments. B. Replacing all activities with lecture slides. C. Extending course length without changing content. D. Reducing interaction to increase efficiency. 8. When mentoring, a CSA notices a trainee struggles with client empathy. Which feedback approach best promotes professional growth? A. Delivering immediate, constructive feedback linked to observed behaviors. B. Waiting until the end of training to address concerns generally. C. Criticizing in front of peers to encourage accountability. D. Ignoring the issue to maintain rapport. 9. In regulatory compliance, CSAs must ensure client information is handled securely. Which mentoring technique best reinforces this? A. Reviewing a checklist of data protection rules. B. Modeling proper confidentiality practices during case studies. C. Assigning extra reading without application exercises. D. Discussing hypothetical laws unrelated to CSA practice. 10. Which strategy best addresses diverse learning preferences in CSA training? A. Providing a single lecture format to ensure uniformity. B. Incorporating visual, auditory, and kinesthetic activities. C. Eliminating discussions to avoid off-topic dialogue. D. Requiring all learners to adapt to the instructor's method. 11. A CSA program developer wants to ensure continuous improvement. Which evaluation method best supports curriculum refinement? A. One-time written exam scores only. B. Ongoing formative assessments and participant feedback. C. Relying solely on regulatory audits. D. Annual review without learner input. 12. Which adult learning principle is most critical when CSAs mentor peers in ethical decision-making? A learning is more effective when content is problem-centered. B. Learners require strict instructor control for accuracy. C. Memorization should precede all applied learning. D. Adults learn best without relating content to personal experience. 13. During roleplay, a CSA trainee demonstrates strong technical accuracy but poor rapport with clients. Which instructional method best addresses this gap? A. Immediate feedback emphasizing emotional intelligence skills. B. Increasing written exams to test compliance knowledge. C. Assigning additional readings on financial regulation. D. Ignoring interpersonal skills to focus on technical mastery. 14. A CSA develops an evaluation plan using Kirkpatrick's model. Which level measures changes in advisor behavior during client interactions? A. Reaction. B. Learning. C. Behavior. D. Results. 15. A CSA instructor uses storytelling to explain regulatory dilemmas. Which adult learning principle is being applied? A. Learning is most effective when abstract. B. Stories help learners relate new content to prior experience. C. Memorization of legal codes is superior to narrative learning. D. Learners prefer theory over practical application. 16. A CSA trainee resists feedback, claiming years of professional experience. Which mentoring approach best overcomes this resistance? A. Acknowledging expertise while demonstrating value of new perspectives. B. Criticizing past practices as outdated. C. Ignoring concerns to stay on schedule. D. Assigning standardized materials without discussion. 17. Which method best ensures CSA trainees internalize complex compliance standards? A. Encouraging group problem-solving of realistic case studies. E. Providing lengthy lists of laws to memorize. C. Delivering information in one extended lecture session. D. Focusing only on penalties for noncompliance. 18. A CSA curriculum integrates peer teaching. Which advantage does this method offer? A. Promotes active engagement and reinforces learning by teaching. B. Reduces the need for assessment. Ensures identical knowledge retention across learners. D. Guarantees compliance without monitoring. 19. Which communication strategy demonstrates cultural competency when advising older adults? A. Assuming all seniors share identical cultural values. B. Avoiding discussion of cultural factors in decision-making. C. Adapting language and examples to respect client backgrounds. D. Using only standardized communication scripts. 20. A CSA mentor wants to evaluate both knowledge and judgment. Which tool is best? A. Multiple choice recall test. B. Case-based scenario assessment. C. Matching terms with definitions. D. Timed memorization drill. 21. Which step in curriculum development ensures CSA training aligns with regulatory compliance? A. Identifying learning objectives linked to regulations. B. Ignoring compliance until after course design. C. Relying on learner feedback only. D. Emphasizing speed over accuracy. 22. A CSA instructor designs a learning activity where trainees solve ethical dilemmas collaboratively. This best demonstrates which principle? Adult learners benefit from cooperative problem solving. B. Individual memorization ensures mastery. Compliance training is most effective without interaction. D. The instructor should always provide the correct answer. 23. Which mentoring strategy supports long-term skill retention in CSA practice? A. scheduled reinforcement sessions and follow-ups. B. One-time intensive lecture. C. Avoiding learner reflection. D. Ignoring continuous development needs. 24. When evaluating training effectiveness, which evidence best supports CSA regulatory compliance goals? A. Improved exam scores only. B. Documented changes in client service behaviors. C. Instructor satisfaction reports. D. Completion of required reading assignments. 25. A CSA program integrates formative quizzes and peer discussions. What purpose do these serve in evaluation? A. They identify ongoing learning gaps and encourage active participation. B. They serve only to increase test scores. C. They replace the need for final assessments. D. They emphasize memorization over application. 26. A CSA must adapt communication when working with older adults with hearing impairments. Which technique is best? A. Speak louder without adjusting pace. B. Use clear, slow speech and confirm understanding. C. Switch entirely to written communication. D. Avoid repeating information to save time. 27. Which regulatory compliance risk is most likely if CSAs fail to follow privacy guidelines? A. Increased learning motivation. B. Violation of client confidentiality. C. Improved client engagement. D. Enhanced mentoring opportunities. 28. In mentoring, which technique fosters critical thinking in CSA trainees? A. Asking open-ended questions that prompt analysis. B. Providing correct answers without discussion. Discouraging exploration of alternative solutions. D. Limiting feedback to yes-no responses. 29. Which adult learning principle is most relevant when CSAs design programs for experienced advisors? A. Prior knowledge should be acknowledged and integrated. B. Learners must disregard past experiences to succeed. C. Training should avoid real-world examples. D. Structured drills are always superior to problem-solving. 30. Which evaluation method best measures CSA trainees' ability to apply compliance knowledge? A. Scenario-based performance tasks. B. Matching terms with definitions. C. Multiple-choice factual quizzes only. D. Instructor-led lectures.